Howdy everyone, MegaMan here. If I'm doing this correctly, currently you should be seeing MegaMan Battle Network footage for the latest episode right now, but there's just something I have to say. First, this won't be too long, hopefully, it's just something I feel like needs to be said. Right now it's December 18th, and, well, hopefully it is, and 4 days ago it was, MegaMan StarForce's 15th anniversary. Which is like, it's great, it's strange. Play, I don't know, I guess like arbitrary celebration sound effect was freaking like streamers or something like that. Anyway, the reason I'm talking about this is because recently, like literally while I'm recording this, like 5 minutes ago, probably not even 5 minutes ago, probably a little less, I just beat MegaMan Battle Network, no, MegaMan StarForce free, different game. Have Battle Network on the mind, but anyways, and it's a good game. It's honestly a really great game. To be fair, it was an amazing experience. I'm kind of sad that I never got into it when I was younger, since I was like always more into Battle Network, which is something that sadly a lot of people can relate to. But oh my god, it was amazing. It's like Battle Network, but it's better. Like, not to shit on Battle Network or anything. Like, obviously, if I'm doing the series right now, you know that I like Battle Network. But, I don't know. It's just like StarForce free. Specifically, since a dumbass me and my family, we haven't gotten other ones. We just started with free for some reason. But, I don't know. If the rest of the series is as good as free was, then, I don't know. It's going to be a great time is all I'm going to say. So, anyways, StarForce free. It's a certain installment of the StarForce series, obviously, and it takes place, well, as all MegaMan games, it takes place a century after the last game in the timeline, which would be the MegaMan Battle Network series. So in StarForce, they have evolved a lot. Lan and his descendants became scientists, and they helped evolve the net technology into something greater by becoming the foundation for EM wave technology. And if you don't know what that is, it's electromagnetic waves, which, if you don't remember from science class, sorry, I don't remember them that well either, so this is gonna be rough. They're essentially like waves, like if I'm correct, sound, radiation, light, UV rays, and a bunch of others. I think there's like at least 13. I don't know why, but 13 is like a number that's popping up whenever I think about them. So I think there's at least 13. But anyways, essentially in StarForce, they create this kind of real wave technology where they take EM waves and they like form them into kinda physical objects in the real world, because it's like they're able to be interacted with, just not by people or seen by people, but they're there and they're able to, and that eventually allows them to create more advanced structures with more, allowing them to do a lot greater things than just the old internet, since, you know, electromagnetic waves, they actually, you know, do shit instead of just the internet being a bunch of electricity and stuff. And and eventually this evolves society forward, and it allows them to do something that, you know, the old science fiction like trope of humanity eventually evolves their technology enough where they can go past the solar system and stuff. So there's this one character named Kelvin Stellar, which Kelvin is meant to be like a pun, I guess, sort of. I don't 100% sure remember what it was. It could be, I'm not 100% sure if I'm remembering this correctly, but I'm pretty sure the Kelvin belt is something important in science, and it's like, if I remember correctly, it's an asteroid belt directly after Pluto in the solar system. It's essentially like the bridge between the solar system and the rest of the galaxy and universe stuff. Very important, especially for a character who is essentially trying to be the bridge, because he's like an astronaut and he's trying to go into a rocket and, start that whole new adventure, that whole giant step for mankind thing. And essentially, it's a very important thing. But on the way, he obviously with that kind of technology, it's very experimental, so it didn't work out, which sucks for him because he has a family back home, Hope and Geo Stellar. It's important. Let me pause real quick. Which would be a shitty situation for most if it wasn't for the fact that he met Omega Sis, who is an F-Emian, or I guess E-Emian, that whole another story I'll talk about later, who essentially turns him into an EM being so that he won't, die due to being lost in space and losing oxygen. The bad part is he's he's a long ass ways from home, like a really long ways. Sorry for the brief pause. My brother keeps being a jackass. Anyway, as I was saying, he's a really long ways from home. So, and his family thinks he's dead, basically, which, causes the very young boy, Geo Stellar, who's I think 7 years old when this happened, to I guess become depressed. Well, not instantly, but just it starts forming into his later years. He blocks everyone else from his life except for his mom and Mr. Boreal, who was a guy who was close to his father since he worked on the project that would allow him to go out of the solar system. And he blocks everyone else away from his life. And he stays locked up in his bed, actually starts to avoid school, stops going to school for a long time. It only studies astrology, space and stuff, so that he can eventually become an astronaut and save his father, who he still believes is alive, which he's not wrong about, but everyone else thinks he's dead. And then eventually he meets Omega Sis, who is I should probably explain EM beings. EM beings are basically natural beings made of EM waves. They're aliens, and they've lived for a long time, so that means they're technically a lot stronger than what humanity's technology in EM waves is, because EM wave technology is only a couple of decades old. Meanwhile, these guys are, millions upon millions of years old, so they've been able to evolve over time. So they're a lot stronger, so if they ever invaded, humanity would be fucked. So, Geo meets Omega Sis, who is in deep shit currently. He did something real bad to upset other F-Emians. And so he just scouts out Geo to help him with this mess he's made. Because the F-Emians are gonna basically destroy Earth to find Omega Sis. So they start tampering around with people that are close to Geo. He starts getting out of his shell due to this young one girl. He starts becoming friends. He starts having connections again, and then eventually he meets the F-Emian king. Basically, he's the king of the planet FM, and he is very young, and he basically, Omega Sis stole a key that is the key to a very powerful weapon named Andromeda, which is capable of destroying entire planets, and is how Omega Sis' planet originally got destroyed, meaning that everyone he loved died. So he originally wanted the key to Andromeda, so he can destroy the king of the F-Emians' planet and destroy them and get revenge for them destroying his planet. But due to hanging out with and becoming close friends with Geo Stellar and learning to have empathy and have a person he can share his pain with, since Geo Stellar has gone through a similar loss, well, not similar, but very equally amount of importance loss. And so he grows as a person. They stop Andromeda because the king was foolish. They forgive the king kinda. Omega Sis is still, kind of pissed, but he's not gonna kill him or anything, so it's fine. And that's basically the plot summary of StarForce 1. I have no idea what the fuck goes on in StarForce 2, but what I know is that this one chick wants to gain access to Mu technology. The Mu were like an ancient civilization that were, as the usual, much more advanced in modern society. They cracked the EM wave thing a long time before modern humanity would. So they did that, and they were able to create EMB. Kinda. They're strange because they were EM beings that were able to interact with EM waves, but also with the real world. Since you could like physically hold one and touch them and stuff, and you would, you'd feel something. You wouldn't just like phase through them or anything. So, but from some strange reason, they died out, and there's only one person left, who I'll talk about later. And that's basically all you need to know for StarForce 2. Now I can get to StarForce 3 and all the important shit. So, when you open up into the game, you see two characters who you don't know. But I'll tell you who they are because this is my goddamn video. Well, not video, but recording. They are Jack and Tia, brother and sister. And basically, they talk about this giant, like, red shooting star, or at least that's what you see. And they're like, they talk about the whole making wishes on a shooting star thing, and they make jokes about how that shooting star is going to destroy everything, and it will make their wish come true. And that's basically what happened. And then, stuff happens, important plot stuff. Well, not important plot stuff. Geo just goes to school, and he talks with his friends, Luna, Zach, and Bud. They're basically the people who got him to step out of his shell when he was, like, in the very hard stages of his depression. And Luna wants to become president, class president. So she tells them to go on missions to help people and gain, like, connections with everyone so they'd have a better chance than everyone else. They do that, and Geo finds a kid named Woody. And he helps them with this, like, rocket project they're having, that they're, like, working on. And they do that. And then some stuff happens. I think they meet up with the Stella police, but I'm thinking that might be a little later on. Okay, so so stuff happens, and basically Tia and Jack are a part of this organization called Dealer. And they're essentially trying to gain control of this red shooting star, which is called Meteor G. That's something that you learn later on in the game, but again, it'll help things be less complicated. So while this whole rocket project is working, Miss Tia and Jack basically infiltrate the school. Jack becomes a student and Tia becomes a teacher. And their whole, like, assignment from Dealer is to create enough noise that will create crimson. Now, let me explain what noise is. It's essentially, I guess the easiest way to put it is that it's like disheveled and messed up EM waves. They're called noise because it's like sound would be an EM wave, or at least if I'm remembering correctly. And noise would be just messed up sound that is inaudible and, like, incomprehensible because it's just all messed up and it's going everywhere. There's nothing clean about it. And as we learn, noise is created whenever EM wave technology is used. And since the entire world is like EM wave technology, there's like giant amounts of noise that are being created in this day and age after such a long time being used. But the strange thing about noise is that when enough come together, they make noise clusters, and those noise clusters become are called crimson because of their crimson color and their very strange properties. I'll talk about those later. So So Tia and Jack gained these crimson by basically putting these cards that are made of noise into AM beings. And what that does is basically it causes AM beings to go crazy due to their AM waves basically being messed up. It's essentially if you put a virus on a computer and the virus was able to do massive damage to the said computer. So they put a noise card into Woody's wizard, Magnus. And this, causes some problems since, the rocket is a very well-made rocket. It actually goes up into the atmosphere, but if I'm correct, I think, if I remember this correctly, Magnus becomes Spade Magnus due to the noise corrupting him. And Spade Magnus' plan is to basically launch the rocket back into the school and destroy it, which will, cause a lot of damage, and, it's pretty bad since there's still people there. So Geo, wave changes with Omega Sis and stops it. Wave changing being basically when a human combines with their AM being and becomes a fusion. And since this is a MegaMan game, that fusion is called MegaMan. So MegaMan stops Spade Magnus, and the day is saved. Further stuff goes on. He meets up with an old friend named Sonia, who was actually the first friend he ever made when he was, in StarForce 1, when he was still in the press. It was the first connection that would help him to grow. I'll continue now. So, after meeting this friend Sonia, shenanigans happen. His friend Bud gets reconnected with a EM being that he met during the first game called Taurus, due to the fact that Tia and Jack put a noise card on him. And, obviously MegaMan stops him from, causing any harm. And eventually Bud and Taurus form a bond, and they become wave partners, eventually allowing them to wave change. Since it has to be an agreement with both parties, you can't just be a human and just force an EM being to wave change with you. It's not how it works. So after that, Geo goes on with his friends to meet the staff because Sonia's concert is not about to begin, and they meet a character named Belle, who's a rising star, to say. She's not up on the level that Sonia is in popularity, but she's getting there. She's getting her come. She's rising up. But her manager, who is also her wizard, Ice, is, wanting better for Belle, and she's very jealous and angry at Sonia and anyone who's trying to gain more attention than Belle. She is very troubled. She cares a lot. Her intent isn't bad. It's just that she tends to go to very bad ways to help in that cause of making Belle a star. Which will be very important later because, obviously, Tia and Jack on their mission promise Ice power. And they use a noise card on her that turns her into Diamond Ice, which allows her to actively have ice powers. And she uses this to essentially overthrow the concert and potentially kill everyone off by making it to a level that humans cannot survive in at the concert. And no one can get down because no one can actually get off the stage since she hacked it also. So, the drill. MegaMan stops it, and everything gets better. She gets in trouble with the Stella police because, that is an act of terrorism. MegaMan says that, he destroyed the person that did it. And, they go on their way. Important story stuff later. We meet a character named Ace. He is a very important member in the Stella Police. He also has some very important. He's also very important to the story later, and we also meet his partner. He's not a wizard, but he's also not an FMian or anything like that. He is Acid, and he is essentially a man-made FMian. Since he's not weak like a normal wizard would be, he's basically on par with how a normal FMian would be powerful. Which is very powerful, obviously, since, again, millions upon millions of years of evolution and stuff. And he was be actively on par with Omega Sis, so that happens. Jack and Tia, cause mayhem in where the two are meeting. Yeah, MegaMan stops it. Ace realizes that, figures out that figures out that Geo is MegaMan, which is actively a secret. No one knows that Geo is MegaMan besides, his close friends. Excluding his mom. And everyone else. So yeah. Jeez, this is taking a long ass time. Sorry about that, guys. So Ace realizes he's a MegaMan, and he basically invites him to Stella Police, to the Stella Police headquarters, WASA, which is basically NASA, but in the future. They used to be called NASA, because that was what NASA became after 100 years, and then 100 years later, they became WASA. Wait, no, that's not how it is. Sorry. Getting some stuff inaccurate. Oh, God, sorry. Bear with me, guys. So they invite him over, but, Dealer, basically, they commit another terrorist attack, I guess. They have this one machine that is capable of copying Omega Sis, but not as strong, but, they create a bunch of these copies to attack the WASA building, which will, if it is completely destroyed, will leave there be no headquarters for the Stella Police to attack them, and I skipped something important, and will not allow, and if the main computer is destroyed, then Geo's close friend, Luna, will basically be gone, since in that important story stuff, Luna basically got killed, sorta. She got turned into scattered data. And the only way to get her back is through the main computer, reviving her and turning her back into a human. Through processing that data and turning it into a real wave, basically. So yeah, obviously, very dire situation. Obviously, Geo succeeds in protecting an entire government building. But not before, unfriendly face appears, named Dark Phantom. Now, Dark Phantom is a character that I'm only gonna assume is just like someone important in StarForce 2, because I have no idea who the fuck he is. And he feels like a creature who is Mu technology, since he is exactly the same and acts the same as Mu technology. So he causes trouble. He hacks the main computer, and Geo has to stop. And Geo has to stop him, obviously, because, again, he has to save his friend. So he does that, and then, through the one thing to know, saving his friend isn't a 100% chance on success. There's like a 60% chance that it'll even work. But through the power of not friendship, but just being annoying, Luna survives and nags the hell out of him, because to her it was like she was gone for 1 second, even though she's been gone for like 2 days. So yeah, that happens. At this point, they don't need any more crimson. Dealer has all the crimson they need to go on with their plans. So they continue doing stuff. Right now, Dealer is basically just trying to attack and destroy WASA. But, Ace has this very good idea of creating a special ops team called the Stella Commandos, which essentially has everyone everyone important who can wave change on it. They have Sonya, who can wave change into Harp Mode. They have Geo, obviously, who can wave change into MegaMan. And they have Bud, who can wave change into Taurus Flame. And then Ace is the team leader, since, he formed it, and he can wave change into Acid Ace. But, the thing with this wave change is that it can actually cause very bad health effects on him. It, makes him sick, it makes him weak, it makes him tired. It's very bad stuff. Probably because Acid is an EM being made up of Meteor G data, which is a meteor made out of noise. So essentially, wave changing with Acid would essentially be wave changing with a being created from noise, which usually wouldn't be dangerous for the human body, but it would definitely be dangerous for someone who is in a wave change, who is actively self-harming himself because they are made of noise. Because Acid Ace has some noise resistance, but he doesn't have that whole heck of a lot of it, unlike MegaMan does, since he has the Ace program, which essentially gives him full resistance to it. And so that harms Ace whenever he uses it, and every time he uses it, he is unable to use it a little less. So anyways, give me a second, I need to think. Ace and his commandos basically start looking around and watching, making sure that there's no suspicious activity going around. Eventually, Geo gets assigned to a case to start looking for noise waves, which are basically a cyber core, but for noise. A cyber core being what is enabling the real wave technology that has advanced society so much in this world. A noise wave is essentially a portal to another world. Not like another world, but like another part of the world. A noise space that is filled with nothing but noise that no one can even withstand unless they have resistance to it. Which is lucky for us, since MegaMan has resistance to it. And it's here where we find Solo. Let me talk about Solo a little bit. Solo is the last remaining Mu, which means that everyone else that he has known and loved from the Mu is now dead, including his family and friends. So he's in a similar boat as Omega Sis, since the fact that everyone else in his family is dead. So Solo he's a strange character. He showed up in StarForce 2, and he's kind of a rival to MegaMan, to put it nicely, since he kind of only he doesn't really care about him. He only just cares about, Mu integrity. He wants Mu to be respected. He doesn't want anyone using Mu technology, since he sees it as a disrespect to dead people, since he believes that since the Mu are dead, their technology should be left to rest in peace. And I feel like you can see where this is going. Dealer is using Mu technology along with Femians from Omega's old planet named Virgo and Corvus. Those two were actually the wave change partners to Jack and Tia. Uh, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention something during that little whole important story part. Tia, after the whole invasion, attempted terrorist attack at the Waza building, was defeated by MegaMan and taken prisoner in a Stella police prison. This basically made Jack very angry since Tia was the only family he had left. Only real family, at least. Since Dealer's leader, King, or at least Mr. King, basically fostered them and a bunch of other children. We'll talk about that later. So Jack, in a way of rebellion and wanting to free his sister, basically attempts another terrorist attack on Geo's school, where he basically uses a bunch of noise to start making the school systems malfunction, locking basically everyone in there inside, which is a very bad thing since he's also planning a very dangerous attack. He plans to destroy the school as Jack Corvus, his wave change form. This is obviously a very bad thing, so MegaMan tries to stop it, but he gets stuck, more or less, since Jack knew that MegaMan would try and stop this, so he basically set up a bunch of mini noise waves that would stop anyone from he hopefully thought would preoccupy him long enough for him to destroy him. Thankfully, this is a funny part. The school's gardener, basically, he's also capable of wave changing since he has another freaking FMian partner named Wolf. Literally, that's just it. He's a wolf, basically. So the two stop. Well, they don't stop, but they keep Jack busy enough for MegaMan to eventually get there. MegaMan having to be helped by freaking Rogue, which is Solo's name for his wave change form, with his wave being Laplace, who was obviously a creation of Mew technology. Eventually, MegaMan gets there. He stops Jack. He couldn't, do the whole imprison him thing, because Jack eventually retreats and goes back to Dealer. So after that, Dealer. Sorry for that little interruption. Now back to what I was saying, or at least what hopefully I was saying. Dealer gets. Mr. King gets a bit impatient and basically starts ordering his EM being Joker, who was actually made from Meteor G as well, and is basically the other half of Acid / brother to Acid. Yeah, so Joker starts, infecting more wizards with noise cards, creating more crimson, and just causing a whole lot of trouble. MegaMan obviously fixes all of this, and thanks to some intel he got from doing a case with all those noise waves, he finds the noise wave that leads to Dealer's base. So after doing this, he informs the rest of the Stella Commandos. Ace gets a whole police squad, Stella police squad with him, and they basically start a siege of the Dealer base. It all goes really well at first. MegaMan starts making his way, defeating all of the security systems with minor losses at each turn. Solo even comes in to help, but he doesn't tell any of them because he's just that arrogant, hot-headed stuff. So eventually, MegaMan gets through all of the defense systems, and he and he goes to them, and he sees Mr. King, finds out that Mr. King was the leader of Dealer the whole time. MegaMan plans to stop him, but Ace then goes crazy due to Joker basically turning Acid Ace into Black Acid Ace, basically causing him to go crazy. MegaMan obviously stops him, so he stops him from going berserk and causing problems. Acid Ace basically passes out due to exhaustion, and then he proceeds to fight Joker. He defeats Joker, but Joker, in a last-ditch effort to continue the plan, explodes, and Acid Ace basically gets in front of the explosion to protect everyone who were there. Jack and Tia were there to kind of just rub it in Dealer's face that they were never like a part of his team. They were just, since Mr. King was kind of a dick of a father, he basically adopted like hundreds upon hundreds of orphan children, but he forced them all to do like crimes and this dirty work and just basically treated them like garbage. So much so that literally Tia and Jack were the only ones out of those hundreds of children to actually survive and grow up. So they rub it in his face, but Mr. King's like, haha, I fooled you. And he has Joker explode. He kills Ace, and this really demoralizes Geo. And then the next day later, he has a talk with his friends and everyone about it. His friends tell him that he's gotta move on and keep going for the sake of Ace, or else it'll all be in vain. This gives Geo the morale boost that he needed. He continues. He goes home to basically start strategizing, but before he could, Mr. King basically broadcasts that he now has full control of Meteor G, and that if anyone plans to go against him, he will destroy them with his beam, his Meteor G beam, his destruction beam, basically. And he basically shows an example by using his beam on the Waza building. Thankfully, everyone in Waza was almost out, except for Dr. Goodall, who was also a scientist that was very close to Geo's father and was basically the main person doing studies for the project. She's not dead, obviously, but, you know, Geo has to save her as MegaMan. She does, and he does, and then everyone in the Wazabuda goes to Aloha, which is basically Hawaii. They go to Aloha, and they basically set up base there. And Geo basically goes and continues to save people from the freaking beams, since after the first beam, people were still resisting, so Mr. King made an example of them. He saves them, and eventually the Satella police basically form a plan where they will launch MegaMan to Meteor G. Well, first, their plan was to launch MegaMan to no, wait, I'm getting a bit carried away. So, MegaMan, after getting a dealer key to Dealer's orbital base, which is where they were firing the Meteor G beam from, he goes there, and he finds Mr. King and his second-in-command, Heartless. But before MegaMan could go there, Jack and Tia arrive. Heartless betrays Joker. Heartless betrays Mr. King, swallowing him up in a noise wave. Then Jack and Tia tell them what their true wish was, saying that their wish was to destroy technology, since they were actually the prince and princess of a foreign country that was the leading nation on EM wave technology. But after they had finished their EM wave technology, other countries had killed their father and taken over their nation, leaving them orphans and homeless, meaning they would have to wander all alone until eventually finding Mr. King, where they would have to suffer even more. After that, they swore that they would destroy all technology to reconstruct the world into a better place. So eventually, they take control of Meteor G. Heartless tells Geo what happened, and then Geo goes into the cyber core of Meteor G, of the Meteor G control cyber core. He attempts to stop Jack and Tia, but they tell him that it's too late. So about a day later, well, not a day later, like an hour later, Geo informs the Satella police what's going on, and they tell him that they already have formed a plan. They get Jesus Christ, sorry, it's a bit difficult to remember. They get Woody, because he made a successful rocket in like a very short amount of time, and since his rocket has been in the atmosphere for so long, it is actually the closest object to Meteor G, and it actually has noise resistance due to the whole Spade Magnus incident. And they get another guy named Lee, who was actually the person who made that whole real wave stage that the Sonia's concert was at during the Diamond Ice incident. He is actually very good at real wave technology stuff, so he was needed to create a barrier so that, MegaMan wouldn't die instantly getting transported to Meteor G. And that's basically the whole team. So Lee, Woody, and the entire Stella police, along with Dr. Goodall and MegaMan. This was their plan to stop Meteor G. Directly after informing them all, Mr. King drops in, almost kills them, but MegaMan saves the day by, pushing Mr. King back into the noise wave he popped out of. So they continued on with their plan a day later, but at this point, Heartless, who was actually a woman who worked with Geo's father on, the project, and was also a close friend of Geo's mother, Hope. Heartless informed Hope that Geo is MegaMan. And then Hope gives, Geo the A-OK and a warm hug. So, eventually the day arrives, everything is all prepared, everything is set. They create a freaking, a wave transporter that will allow Geo to be transported all the way to Woody's rocket, and then they would establish a link from the Waza base to Meteor G, and then during that, MegaMan would have to survive the trials before getting into Meteor G by having to defeat recreations of the Berserk wizards that were created using the noise cards, and defeating Jack and Tia solo killing off Corvus and Virgo after Geo told him that killing off 80% of humanity, since if the Meteor G were to crash into Earth, it would not only get rid of all EM wave technology, since it's basically a giant EMP, it would also kill off 80% of humanity, would cause more suffering than good. They finally realized this. Corvus and Virgo die, and there is nothing stopping Geo from going in and defeating the creature inside of Meteor G that is being held off by Kelvin Stellar. Since after that whole ordeal with Omega Sis turning Kelvin Stellar into an EM being, Kelvin saw that Meteor G was going to crash into the planet, and so he went into Meteor G and continued fighting Meteor G and the creature inside of it. After Geo learns this, he goes heads forwards into Meteor G. He has a nice talk with his father after being gone for so long. He has a short talk before King comes in and sabotages everything. Basically, King gets consumed in the Crimson Dragon alongside Kelvin Stellar. MegaMan fends off the Crimson Dragon, but inevitably the Crimson Dragon comes back, and MegaMan at this point is too tired to continue fighting. He passes out, but during that he has a vision of Ace giving him some more boosting his morale, telling him that he can do this, that he is the greatest hero, and that he is greater than he could ever be. With this, MegaMan turns into his ultimate form, a form only possible if an EM being is capable of withstanding noise waves. He becomes Black Ace, and he defeats the Wave Dragon. He defeats the Crimson Dragon. Everything is great except for the fact that after doing so, Geo is stuck in there. He can't survive. The rocket cannot withstand the noise, and so it has to go away, meaning that there is no real way for Geo to come home. This would be awful if it wasn't for the fact that Kelvin broadcast the whole situation to the entire planet. And after that, everyone on Earth, they all set their purpose to get Geo back home. And apparently, there was enough purpose energy to create a purpose wave that would allow Geo to come home. Sadly, if Geo were to come home, Mega and Kelvin would have to stay there. Eventually, Kelvin and Mega convince Geo to go. And after that, Geo was finally home. And after 2 weeks, Geo would be on the school roof. He'd be talking to himself, saying that he would continue living on for the sake of Omega and Kelvin. And it's very inspiring, to be honest. To see that this kid that went from being so depressed at the loss of his father so many years ago be in a situation that is so much worse than it was before, and instead of being brought back into his depression, he still carries a smile on his face, and while still sad, he has the will to live his life to the fullest, even though his father and his best friend were gone. But the good news was, seconds afterwards, Omega Sis comes back as a shooting star and crash lands right next to Geo. They share a good warm hug. Geo having the biggest smile he could ever have at the sight of his best friend alive. And then Omega Sis informs him that Kelvin is also alive. After a short cutscene, they go home and they share a nice warm hug, being a happy family. And that's my very shitty synopsis of MegaMan StarForce 3. It's kind of inspiring to see someone go from such a horrible time in their life to grow up into such a inspiring character. And that's it. Honestly, it is probably too fucking long for an episode, honestly. So that's it, everybody. Have a good rest of your day, and ride on.